Today I'm going to be showing you my top 5 favorite field notes editions that I have used so far. And at the end of the video, there's going to be 1 or 2 bonus ones, so you're going to want to stay tuned. So to start things off with the editions that I've used that I like, number 5 on the list is national parks. I've used, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. So there's 8 that I have used, and then there's 10 that I haven't. So there's a total of 18 national parks notebooks. I am really excited to get into using all of these. It's a little overwhelming because there's so many, but I'll get there. So far I've used, in order, this is in order, I've used the Joshua Tree, Mount Rainier National Park, Grand Canyon, Rocky Mountain, Yellowstone. I really like the Yellowstone one. That's one of my favorites. Great Smoky Mountains, Sequoia National Park. This one was one of my favorites that wore in. Like, this is one of my favorite wear jobs because it's just so nicely torn up, and just look at the. And the final one that I've used is Grand Tetons. All right, so the next one on my list, number 4, is actually 2 different notebooks. And the reason for that is I kind of consider these in the same series. So number 4 on the list is the Portland and Chicago editions. They're both the city flags. They seem to be consistent with one another. I'm going to consider these the same edition, but I started using these recently. I got them not long ago. I really like these things. They got a simple design, good colors. They just pop right out at you. Of course, the GareTheBear stamp helps, but I filled each of these respectively in 3 days and 6 days. One thing I always really enjoy as well is I have the labels that I use to mark the spine for cataloging purposes, and this one is orange, and it happens to match really well with the field notes. I always love it when the cataloging, the labeling of the spine matches the notebook that I use it with. Like, there's some of these, like the Joshua Tree, for example. There's those orangey yellow hues in the background. The orange stickers match well with that. So, all right, my next favorite, my third favorite, it's going to be just the Standard Kraft edition. I've used 5 of these. I kind of didn't realize I had used this many, but I really enjoy the Kraft. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I just remembered I've actually used 6 of the regular Kraft. My custom that I made is technically a regular Kraft, so I had to include that in there. I really like these for a number of reasons. One's because they're just classic. You can't beat them. I remember when I first started, like when I first tried field notes, I wasn't huge on how durable the cover is. I started using these with the idea that they weren't durable enough, and then I grew to enjoy sort of the wear and tear. I grew to appreciate that. And the regular Kraft have one of the lighter grade covers. These are like 80-pound covers. Most of the others, like the national parks and the Portland and stuff, these are all 100-pound, so they're a little bit thicker, a bit more durable. I really like this one. I used it and I stamped and drew on it and just did all kinds of fun stuff. I kind of like how this looked. After a while, the aesthetic was really nice of this one. So I would love at some point or another to like collect random weird stamps to stamp. You know, make a custom set that are stamped. Funny, I don't know. And these 3 in particular hold a special place in my heart because Maddie made these for me for my birthday last year, and she knows I'd be loving my field notes, so she hooks it up. And also the Kraft, they're a good canvas to customize. They are a great canvas. The next set that is my next favorite set, number 2, is Pitch Black. It's one of the more simple designs. I love these. A couple of reasons. So I first used it back in April. These are a far thicker cover, 118-pound. The Standard Kraft is 80-pound. I really enjoy the way these wear. They're really thick so they don't get too terribly torn up, but they still wear enough to have that pretty worn-in aesthetic. I also enjoy the silver text. I thought about customizing a Pitch Black edition at some point with a silver Sharpie. I have yet to acquire a silver Sharpie, so I'll have to wait. And of course, the other reason I like these is the dot grid. I love the dot grid. I wanted to do a little something for the second one that I used like earlier this month. Actually, this was the last one that I filled up. But I put one of these little book trimming stamps on there because I ordered the mystery box from Field Notes. And one of the items that came with it was the sheet of stamps. And I actually made a video unboxing my mystery box and opening it. And that's available on my Patreon for $3. But both of these I really have enjoyed. I've had no complaints about the Pitch Black. These have the simple design, the simple vibe of the regular Kraft. But they're stronger, they're sturdier, and they have my favorite page layout. And for me, can't beat that. The number one on the top 5 list is the one I'm using currently, and this is probably recency bias. More than likely, it's recency bias. As I go and as I use more, this list will most definitely be voided, and I will have new opinions formed later on in life. So this video is relevant as of September, but my favorite Field Notes edition, the one I'm using currently, is the Vintage. The Vintage, I think these are fantastic. I think they're beautiful. Just look at it. It's beautiful. So first of all, my favorite color is red. The linen quality on the covers, that's just so fun. It's such a nice tactile experience to hold one of these things. I love the embossed Field Notes on the front. That's absolutely gorgeous. And of course, the wine and gold combo, I think that's beautiful. This doesn't look nearly as gold as it did at one point. It looks more like this upon starting it, which actually, look at that. Look at the way it's worn. So this is the used one, this is the new one. That's actually nice. I really enjoy that. I can't wait to use these again. Oh my gosh. The thing about these that I found interesting was how much I actually enjoy the dot rules. The lines made of dots, that's nice. It's an interesting mix of dot grid and lines. Because I kind of like lines and I also kind of like grid. And having both sort of together in a hybrid, I think is an interesting experiment. Also, all these pages are perforated, so I don't have any intentions of perforating, like actually tearing out pages from these books. But what it does do, that I feel like is kind of a niche interest. You see how puffy this is? What it kind of does is when you open it out and sort of work on these perforations a little bit, and you just use it over and over again, and eventually it kind of wears in on you. What happens is around the spine, it puffs out. Because those perforations are so stiff, like the little pieces of paper that are bound together, then you have like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, and then your perforation, you kind of create sort of a puff, like a thicker, I don't know, it just sort of widens your book a little bit. It's such a pretty thing. So it wears in really nice. I almost made a whole video dedicated to these, but I kind of decided on acknowledging my top 5 instead. And I say top 5, but we actually have the bonuses for those of you that stuck around. For those of you that stuck around to the end, we have 2 bonus notebooks, like honorable mentions, I would say. So honorable mention number 1 is the Love Notes. I don't know if that's what it's called, but it is a 48-page, instead of a memo book, it's 48-page Love Notes, as it says there on the cover. This was for Valentine's Day. And so I really liked this. Again, red's my favorite color. My birthday is Valentine's Day, so it kind of worked out for me that I like these. So I made an order, got these along with it. And I think they're awesome. I really enjoyed using this one. This was kind of, I think this notebook, honestly, was one of the ones that got me sort of hooked on Field Notes. Obviously, starting with Field Notes got me hooked on it, but this one kind of really amplified that process a little bit. The next one that I really, really like is this summer's tote. The tote bag that came out, I don't even know, May, June-ish, came with this accompanying memo book. It's got this flower on it, it's green. But I really liked using this one too, and also this one holds a special place in my heart because this was the notebook I was using. The date range on this one is June 18th to July 10th. This was the notebook I was using when I got married. And also, actually, the end of this notebook was during our honeymoon, which I thought was kind of cool, so. This is one of the longer ones. It almost took me a month to fill this one up, but it was a busy month. So again, this is the collection of like my top 5 Field Notes editions. If you enjoyed this, let me know down below. Also, let me know what your favorite Field Notes edition is. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So with all of that said, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys again next week.